Okay, you wrote your objective. Please make sure your name is on your warm-up sheet. People keep turning them in with no name, and that would be unfortunate to not get credit for an easy 100 every week, right? So you're supposed to do what on this warm-up? What does it say? With a sentence, right? So if you draw a graph only, that's not writing a sentence, right? Now, let's think about this. The question is, if you're given 2 points, like the picture, how can you create a perpendicular bisector? So, class, what is a bisector? What does that do to something? Cuts it in half. Now, if I want to cut something in half, I need to know where the point is halfway. What do you call the point that's halfway? Midpoint. Thank you. Now, that could be part of your sentence, right? I need to find the midpoint, right? Now, if you had this graph, then you can see it, right? Okay, so halfway between that, there's your midpoint, right? So in your sentence, right, because y'all are writing a sentence, right? So, got to find the midpoint. Second thing, it needs to be what again? Perpendicular. Now, if I have an equation, how do I figure out the perpendicular line? You remember this from last week? Okay, we flip the slope, and we do what? What else do we do with the slope? Flip it and change the positive, negative sign. Okay, but for real, is everyone hearing me say this is from last week? We've done this, right? You flip the fraction, you change the sign. So that's the second thing you're gonna do. Find the slope. Third thing you're gonna do, find the perpendicular slope. Flip the fraction, change the sign. Okay. Once you have that, then you should be able to graph a perpendicular line. And I'm going to show you how to get the equation today. So real quick, if you haven't written a sentence, things that you need. Midpoint, you need to figure out the slope, and then you're going to take that slope and flip it over and change the sign. That'll help you get the perpendicular bisector. Okay? So once you start writing that down. Find the midpoint, find the slope, and then change that slope, right? Right? Everybody over here by the window with the phone in their hand? You wrote a sentence? Is it a good sentence? All right. Watch me. All right. So once you have that written down, we're going to start these notes, and I do need a sentence for credit, please. So what I'm passing out right now is the notes for today. Okay. So you have this paper right here with Snoop Dogg about to jump into a pile of leaves. Okay. Now, real quick, I want everyone paying close attention because you always should, but really, this is not the most exciting lesson in the world. I get it. And as you can see, there's a lot of steps to it. Now, I'm going to try to make it as simple as I can, step by step, show you how to do it. We'll do it again, and then you're going to show me you can do it, okay? But I need y'all to be following along with me, and if it doesn't look like you are, I'm going to have to see if you can help me out, okay? So step 1, it says it right here. What are we doing on step 1? Find the midpoint. Now, we've done this, but if you don't remember, here's the formula for midpoint. You add up the x's, divide by 2, you add up the y's, and you divide by 2. Okay? So on our example 1 down here, I'm gonna number these, step 1 through 5. Step 1. Okay? I need to add up my x's. What are my 2 x's for these 2 points? 2n, negative 4. So 2 plus negative 4 divided by 2. Now, you can do this mentally. So yeah, what's your question? Well, maybe this might answer. So, like, you can add these in your head on the top. 2 plus negative 4 is negative 2, and then divided by 2. You can do it mentally, but that's if you know for sure that you're solid on adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. But calculator's always our friend. You could do control divide. Control divide makes it a fraction. 2 plus negative 4 divided by 2. Okay? So you always have the ability to use your calculator, right? So negative 1 is my x value for the midpoint. Now we're going to add up the y's. What are my y values here? 8 and 0. So 0 plus 8 divided by 2. Okay, obviously the top is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now, why did we just do that? Because we were looking for the what? Midpoint, right? So the midpoint is x comma y. So this comma this. Let's write that. Negative 1 comma 4. So the only way to get a bisector is to cut through the middle, and we have the middle point called the midpoint. Cool? Step 1 is done. Now, step 2, what do we need to do? Find the slope. Y'all know how to find slope? Because if not, here's your equation. You subtract the y's on top, subtract the x on the bottom. That'll be your rise over your run. That'll be your answer for your slope. So now we're going to do step 2 right here. So for slope, it's y2 minus y1. Which one of these numbers is y2? 8 minus, what's y1? 0 over x2, which is what? Negative 4 minus x1 is 2. So again, well, hold on. So y2 minus y1 on top, x2 minus x1 on the bottom. Let's try this. Control divide 8 minus 0 over negative 4 minus 2. Negative 4 over 3. Now, if you did the math yourself, you would have gotten negative, or you would have had 8 over negative 6, but you got to reduce that. Okay? So 8 minus 0 is 8, negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. Okay? But negative 4 over 3 is my slope. Okay? So we just did step 2, where we found the slope using the slope formula. Okay? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, step 3, we're doing what? Determine the slope of a what? Perpendicular. Now, you know, we know, if I have some kind of slope, I'm going to do 2 changes. So what changes to this slope of negative 4/3? Flip it over and change the sign. Positive, negative will change, okay? So, for step 3, go ahead and put 3. I always write my original slope, negative 4 over 3. And then, perp, for perpendicular, okay? So we already said this, but the negative is going to change to a positive. 4 over 3 flips to become 3 over 4. Now, again, a lot of steps. We've done all this so far because we need a bisector, which means it's in the midpoint, and we need it perpendicular, so it has this slope. So I'm going to box what I need. Perpendicular slope, midpoint. Those are the 2 things you need. I don't need these original points anymore. I don't need the original slope anymore. All I care about is the midpoint and the perpendicular slope, okay? Now, step 4. I'm going to do what? write an equation. And have y'all seen this point slope formula before? Algebra 1 maybe? Hopefully. Now, Algebra 1 version may have been a little different. They do y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. But we give you this in geometry, it's just one step easier, okay? So, I give it to you on here, just use it, okay? Let's write number 4 right here, and we're going to write this all out. So I'm going to write point slope formula the original way. Cool. So that's my point slope formula. Me too. All right, check it out. M. What does M usually stand for? Slope. What's the slope that I care about? 3 over 4. That's why I did this, right? And then x1, y1 is a point. What's the point I care about? Over here, this midpoint. Cool? So you can see it in blue. I'm going to use that slope and that point in the point slope formula. So let's rewrite it. Y equals m is 3 over 4 x minus, what's x1? Negative 1. So I can put minus negative 1, but we know minus a negative is, it's morphin time. It turns into a plus sign. Minus negative, morphin time. All right, so plus sign. Now, I like to write that. I like to morph it. You know, it's up to you if you want to do that. If you leave it as a minus negative, it's the same answer. The only thing that will be wrong is if you put 1 minus sign. That would be, okay. Last part, plus y1. What's y1? 4. Okay, so plus 4. You would think we'd be done. Of course not. There's too many steps in this, right? Lots of steps. But we're on our way. We're almost done. Step 5 is to solve it and get it into y equals mx plus b. It's almost there, but we don't need these parentheses anymore. What we want to do is, what do you call that with the number in front into the parentheses? Distribute. So 3/4 times x, 3/4 times 1. So, what's 3/4 x times x? 3/4 x. Now this is kind of tricky. 3/4 times 1, anything times 1 is the same thing, right? So 3/4 times 1 is still 3/4, okay? But I'm going to write it as a decimal because I'm going to combine it with that 4 next time, okay? So y'all know what 3/4 is as a decimal? 0.75, right? Okay, and then put next to it plus 4. Okay? Almost done. One last little step. We got to combine like terms, right? These two numbers got to combine into one. Okay? So put a little step 5. This will be our final answer. Y equals 3/4 x plus, and then what's 0.75 plus 4? Okay, 4.75. That is the final answer. We were looking for an equation of a perpendicular bisector. It's perpendicular because we use this slope. It's a bisector because we use this midpoint. Is that a lot? Yes, it is. But, you know, you might see it on Thursday. So I want you to really know what we're doing, right? What's happening on Thursday? Test. Shook. All right? But it's going to be all right. You're going to do good because you're going to review. Okay? Some of y'all on the first test didn't do too hot, and it showed the way you reviewed. So we need to learn how to review, right? So when you get a review, you're going to do your review, especially if I give you the entire thing done for you, especially if I do it along with you on a video that you can watch. All right? Now, if that didn't make sense, we're going to do it one more time together. If you think you already got this, try to do this without me and see if you get the same answer. Beat me to the answer. Bet you can't beat me. All right? Now, example 2, number 1, you, sir. All right, what are my x's? -3 and 9. Okay, let's add them up. Negative 3 plus 9 divided by 2. Now, we'll cut to the chase. If you type that in your calculator, you're going to get 6 over 2, which is 3. Okay? Now, what are my y values? 4 and 6. Add those up. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So what's the midpoint? 3, 5. So everyone's able to get a midpoint. Okay, step 2. Can you get the slope? So y2 minus y1. So, sir, what's y2? Which one of these numbers? Minus, what's y1? Okay, good. So 6 minus 4 over, and then x2 minus x1. What minus what? What? What's x2 minus x1 on the bottom? 9 minus negative 3. It's morphin time. All right. So 9 plus 3, however you want to write it. Let's write this down. Now, when you type this in your calculator, you're going to get 2 over 12, which reduces to 1 over 6. Okay? If you want to do it yourself, that's fine. Just make sure you reduce it. So 1 over 6 is my original slope. But, time for step 3. What? This? So it was 9 minus negative 3. Minus the negative is a plus. Step 3, we're going to do the perpendicular. Step 3, so 1 over 6, perpendicular. So that's positive. What's it going to turn into? Negative. 1 over 6 flips to make what? 6 over 1. Now, TBH, you can just write negative 6. You don't need to put it over 1. FR, FR. All right, so all I care about is this slope and this point. All right, I don't care about the 2 original points. I don't care about that slope anymore. Midpoint and perpendicular slope. So I can do step 4. Y equals, and I'm going to cut to the chase here. What's the m? What's the slope that we're using? Negative 6. And I'm going to leave it just negative 6. No over 1. Okay? Parentheses. And then we have x minus. What's x1? What's the x value of this midpoint? 3. Plus, and then the y1 of this point? 5. Almost done. Now we got to distribute and combine like terms. So negative 6 times x, negative 6x. Don't forget this part. Negative 6 times negative 3. Negative times negative gives me a positive. 6 times 3 is 18. Bring down plus 5. And now, my step 5, my final answer. Y equals negative 6x, combine like terms. What's 18 plus 5? 23. Jordan. Now, how many of y'all who did it, anybody do it before me, get the same thing? Okay. So, I know that's a lot of steps, but it's pretty clear what you're supposed to do for each step. Try to make it as obvious as I can. So your assignment is to do that, okay? Hopefully, you can finish today. If not, we'll have a little time tomorrow to wrap it up. Then we're going to move on. Pressure?